evolutionary period, there was, let's say, an escape valve that was put in. And that escape valve, in short terms, can be looked at as a thing called the Anson-Stacia passage. Now, the Anson-Stacia passage is like a lifeline to this planet in the position this planet is in right now. If you are new and you don't know what that position is, there's a lot to catch up on, because we've been teaching ever since 2000 when we entered what's called a stellar activation cycle, and the stargates on this planet began to open. It also opened a drama that had been left in a stalemate the last time the stargates opened. And we are now in stages of what's called the final conflict drama on this planet. We are beginning to see it in the politics around us when we watch the news. But it is much, much larger than that. The earthly politics are small compared to the politics that are going on in the interdimensional spectrum that are actually moving the politics that we see coming out in the human lines on this planet. There are many, many different soul groups on this planet wearing the mask of human form. Not all of them are human. Most of them are hybrid, and humans are hybrid in the first place. We all came from somewhere else. We've been living under an illusion of the mask of the Homo sapien sapien, and under an illusion of history, a history that was very recently contrived and twisted. As early ago as 9558 BC, there was a new concept early ago. 9558 BC, when the final sinking of the Atlantean islands, the remnant islands, occurred. Even then, there were massive amounts of history known on this planet. There were many, many things known that were lost from that period. They were not lost because of an accident. They were lost through a contrived takeover plan that has been unfolding itself since that period. Now, it may be shocking to some of you, and I will just be very blunt. I like to try to ease people that are new to the work into things, because I don't want to scare you. And it's like, oh my God, what are they, nuts? No, we're not nuts. We've been teaching the history since 2000. We've had access to the history. This is not the first time we've taught this. Az and I and Mac have been speakers before in other lifetimes, in other simultaneous incarnations in different space-time frames. So we do know what we're teaching. But we are in the middle of a massive drama on this planet. It is a universal system, a 15-dimensional drama, not just something that has to do with our little planet called Earth. And what we are doing in Peru is the one thing left that can be done that will allow for ascension potential at all to remain for the life field of this planet. This planet has lost its personal ascension potential. Earth cannot ascend anymore. There are two ways to evolve back to the source from which we all came. One is through natural ascension. After you individuate and go out into manifest form and experience cycles of space-time in manifestation, you can then move through what is called an Adashi return cycle, and you go back into source by reaccreting yourself or becoming whole again, at which point you go back to the first creation point from which you emerged. Then you have the option to come back out again into manifestation if you want. That is one way to go home. The other way to go home to source is through what is called space dust return. Space dust return, in scientific terms, means black hole fall of a body, planetary body, a star body, or a solar system, or an entire galaxy or universe. Now, Earth has entered its space dust return path. There is no turning back for this planet at this point. Now, we don't have to worry about it going tomorrow. All right, Earth will be here for quite a long time, not as long as we'd hoped, but for quite a long time. We are a race that is in the middle of watching a planet go from where it still had its potential to regenerate ascension ability to where that potential has been completely disengaged. Earth will not ever be an ascension planet again. In fact, Earth would be entering what is called its Bardo cycle now, as of March 25th, 2007, if it weren't for the interventions that have been being done by a very large group of Christic races from this matrix and others, that you can just, there's various names that have the Aquari name on the front of them. It is the age of Aquarius, as they say, because this is where the Aquarian soul groups out of a parallel adjacent Akasha matrix, who set the host here in the first place 450 billion years ago to try to protect this place from a fall that occurred nearby, They are intervening directly because we would be going into planetary bardo now. If we entered planetary bardo, which is the death cycle, there is a particular cycle of what a bardo is, be it for a person or a planet or a sun or a solar system. But once a bardo occurs, there is something called a prana seed that is in the center or the core of a planetary body or a star body, the center of the light body. When bardo occurs, the prana seed compacts into itself and can no longer cycle. And that begins a separation between what is known as the outer manifestation of the body and its inner, what is called the dark matter partiki template. All right. Now, our Earth would be going into bardo as of the 25th of March because on the 25th of March, our sun, our core of our sun, where the core gates are, where the prana seed is, was struck on purpose by a certain matrix called the Borgia matrix with psychotronic pulses that forced compaction of the solar core gates, or the solar prana seed, which means our sun has entered its bardo cycle. Normally, if there is no intervention and a center sun in a solar system enters bardo, the core prana seed within each of the planets that revolve or orbit around that sun will follow suit very rapidly. Their core prana seeds will also compact and close, and the whole system will go into bardo together. That would be happening on this planet now if it weren't for the intervention that's being given by the Christic races of the Aquarian matrix. And if that occurred, what it would mean from that point forward, there would be no ascension of the life field out of this system. It would mean the life field on this planet would be completely locked into the path of space dust return. We wouldn't go tomorrow, but we would not be able to ascend ever again out. To get home to source, we would have to go home in pieces. So, the fact that there is an intervention, a huge intervention being done that involves 3 Akasha systems combining force in order to assist or host this system, to allow a chamber to remain open to the still living systems, to realize that we are in the process of assisting these Christic races, being their ground team, as it were, to allow for something called the Ansenstatia passage to be opened and anchored here into this planet. It will stop